All right, guys, so it's time for the next leg of our trip here in the Badlands area. We decided to take a side trip over to see Mount Rushmore. That was my initial plans, and my wife said she wanted to see the Crazy Horse Memorial, so we were going to go there too. And I told you and mentioned in our last video of the Badlands area that we got the Gypsy app. So we're in the truck, we're driving over there. It's a little bit later in the day because somebody's wife takes a little while to get ready during the day. Anyway, so we're driving over there. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon, and all of a sudden this Gypsy app just starts playing out of nowhere. And it starts saying, well, it looks like you're going over to the Blackhills. And it really caught us off guard because I forgot that it was playing in the background on the phone. And it actually suggested that you take at least 6 or 8 hours to devote to this area in one trip. And I was like, I wish I would have knew this beforehand, because my plan was just to go to Mount Rushmore, take a couple of quick pictures, go to the Crazy Horse, take a couple of quick pictures, be on our way. I was actually planning on, I had re-looked at our reservations, and my reservations for Yellowstone were actually a day later than I thought. And so we had an extra day here. Otherwise, my plan was just to go do the Mount Rushmore thing and everything with the camper in tow on the way, just to save some time, because it's about an hour and a half from the Nomad View area here. So when we went over there and it started playing, and we started listening to the tour and stuff, and they kept recommending that you take the scenic loop, and I was like, I don't know if we have time, but let's go to Mount Rushmore first. And he kept saying, like, if you don't have time, you want to go to Mount Rushmore first, go ahead and do that, and then do the loop if you have time after that. And so we went to Mount Rushmore first because I was afraid it'd be dark and we'd run out of daylight. So we went and did that first, and it was very nice. Like, I mean, it's what you always kind of imagine that it's going to be. They're, you know, it's one of those things that I feel like you're just supposed to stop and do, and your park pass does not cover you to get in there. And is it worth $20? You know, sure, it's worth $20 to park to go in there, but it's just one of those places where you just want to stop and take a couple of pictures. Personally, you can take hike a little bit closer and go all the way up to the base and whatever, but I just wanted a couple of pictures. So we got our pictures, and we got some pretty decent pictures there. And then we decided, I guess we'll go and we'll do this loop, which also involved going down the Needles Highway. So whenever we started along our way, I'll say on a side note that during our trip, some of the small towns that we ran into looked like they were really interesting, but we didn't have a lot of time to stop and explore these areas. Some of the places that we did kind of go through was Hill City, I think it was called. There's Keystone, there was Custer, and there's a few more, but you know, those were all nice little towns that I would like to spend an hour or so in each one of them, just kind of look around. But you know, a lot of them had statues on the side of the roads, and they were built up like, you know, obviously looking like an old western town in the gold rush area, that kind of stuff. But they were nice places to stay and hang around. We did eat dinner at Custer after this trip because we were starving to death, because we didn't plan on spending so long on the road. But back to our original point. So we decided to go down Needles Highway. It's Highway 87, and we just followed it all the way around. And I had 2 friends actually text me when I posted a picture of Mount Rushmore and say, you really need to drive the Needles Highway. And so I thought, well, I guess I better do that. And so we went to get on it, and we did do the Crazy Horse Memorial first. There was a lot more to see and do there than I had originally anticipated. We spent probably about an hour and a half there at the Crazy Horse Memorial. You know, watched the little video about the history, which was very interesting, and went through the museum and looked at the different stuff there. And then we get over the Needles Highway. Well, I've never really heard of the Needles Highway before, and it actually goes through Custer State Park, which is one of the top 10 places that on some lists that I've seen in RV camping through the United States. Now, if you are going to take a camper in there, which I did see a Class C in there, you have to be very particular about your route, because a lot of these routes, there's very small tunnels, including on the Needles Highway. It's not somewhere where you're going to take a camper to, because the Needles Highway has some hairpin curves. It has 3 very small single lane car tunnels. I think it said they were like 8.5 feet wide and 9 feet tall. And so my 2500 fit through there without any major issues. The only issue that I really had is my wife was videoing going through it, and so she was leaning forward and I couldn't really see over on that side. And that made me a little bit nervous, but I knew I had plenty of space over there. And I even think that if you have a dually, you'd probably be okay, but I'd probably research that a little bit more before I went. But even, you know, a good single rear wheel, you won't have any issues fitting in there, even if you got a big old house of a truck like mine. Now, the Needles Highway, you're going to drive through, you're going to see lots of rock formations and mountains, and you know, the Blackhills was initially called Blackhills by the Indians because of its black coloration, but in all it was really from all the pine trees, because there's not very many pine trees anywhere else around here. And you get over there and it's dark in color. And so this is one of the few places, like everywhere we've seen in South Dakota, it's either like prairie lands or this badland stuff here, or you have the Blackhills, which is like completely different because you have like the rock formations and the forest on top of that, and it's just crazy. But it does take some time to drive the Needles Highway, and part of the Needles Highway is it's going to take you through Custer State Park. And whenever you go through Custer State Park, they do charge you $20 for a pass, and that $20 pass will last you 7 days if you want to go back over there. But you know, it's all part of it, and it's a nice area to explore as well. And so again, I didn't really mind paying the entrance fee there, even though we're trying to not do extra stuff like that. But we went through, and when you first go in there, there's a lake at the Custer State Park that's surrounded by these rock formations. They were having a wedding or something there when we were driving through. But there were some people out there with kayaks, and it looked like a wonderful place to relax for a day or two and just kind of hang out there at the state park. So it's still not a bad idea of a place to stay. There are a lot of areas throughout Needles Highway where there's pullovers, so you can pull your car over and get out and take pictures and hang out and have picnics, whatever you want to do. But you know, just don't rush through it. Try to spend more time than we spent, because a lot of that time I was kind of rushing just to beat the daylight. And we ended up having plenty of daylight. Everything worked out great, but I just felt more rushed. So I would start this trip early in the morning and just plan on making a whole day out of it. As you're driving through the Needle Highway, you're going to see some sporadic wildlife here and there. But whenever we got done, we did take the wildlife loop in Custer State Park. And I think we kind of lucked out on this because it was almost dusk when we was going through. And so we did the wildlife loop. And in the beginning, you're not going to see a whole lot probably usually, because you're kind of going down into this valley. But we did see some antelope and some deer and stuff like that. Some more of the stuff that we saw here in the Badlands. But when you get all the way down in there, we did run across the buffalo herd that's here. The size of the buffalo herd varies, but from what I understand, it's around 1,000. And so there's a lot of buffalo around here. And those of you that don't know, I grew up on a buffalo farm, so it kind of brought some memories back for me. And it's kind of like being home in a way. But one thing that you have to understand about buffalo is that they are not pets. And I say this very seriously because, yeah, whenever we first started with our buffalo farm, we used to feed them out of our hands and treat them like cows and all that stuff. But if you keep doing that, you eventually learn that they're wild animals and you don't need to be doing that stuff anymore. And so when we finally found the buffalo herd, I couldn't believe when I looked out, and there's people that got out of their car walked like a quarter of a mile across this prairie and are standing there in this buffalo herd. And that's very dangerous, and I'm going to tell you, you probably ought not do that. But they are beautiful animals. Just stay in your car or stay away from them at least and take pictures and do whatever you want to. We actually took a side road. It went kind of right through one group of the buffalo, and we got some good close-up shots of the bison. And we got some good close-up shots, and my wife got to have her little excited moments being close to the animals and all that without having to get out. All I'm saying is just be careful around wildlife. You don't want to be permanently injured and have that as a reminder of your vacation time. So like I say, the Blackhills area, we made a whole day out of it. Well, at least half a day because we got started late, but it was a fun trip. It's somewhere that I would highly recommend you go if you've never been there before. And I would highly recommend that you get the Gypsy app and you use their guided tour. It made it a lot easier. It made it more informed. And truthfully, I didn't even use my GPS because every time you would come to a turn, like he would say, if you want to do this, go left. If I want to do that, go right. And it made it very easy and enjoyable, and I learned a lot. And from now on, I think we're going to be looking at the Gypsy app everywhere we go to see if they have a tour. All right, guys, so we're going to be headed out of here in the morning. We're going to be headed over toward Yellowstone. Now, that'll be Sunday morning. We can't check in at Yellowstone until Monday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we are going to stop and do a couple of things along the way. And I think we're altering our route so we can stop and see Devil's Tower along the way. That's another one of those places where, you know, it's kind of just a little bit out of the way. And so I'm thinking that it's going to be a great kind of detour, and we got some extra time. So we'll stop over there for an hour or two and just kind of hang out and take some pictures and just do like the roadside attraction kind of thing and keep going. We'll boondock somewhere tomorrow night between here and Yellowstone. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for our next video.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.